Hello, testing, 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 testing. MIS, can you turn me up just a little bit? Good evening, everyone. It is a beautiful day, isn't it? It is. I walked in, it is drizzling just a little bit. If I can please have the leadership come up front, our police chief, of course, our city manager, our parks and recreational director, and all of the leadership. If you can come up front and sit up here, thank you kindly. Deputy city manager as well. Yes, I see our public works director is here too. Our chief, the lady of the hour, Chief Stanley. Yes. Our deputy chief, pardon? Oh, yes. Hello, Mr. Darrell. How art thou? Very nice. Yes. I know that our deputy chief is here as well. Well, who is going else? Mr. Todd. Yes, wonderful. We are going to be very mindful of your time. We understand that indeed it is a Thursday, and it's the day, I always say it's the day after hump day, right? And you have a lot of things to do to prepare for the weekend. So we are conscientious of your time, but we thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. Many of you have left work and came here just to be able to hear from us. So we are very grateful and appreciative of that. As mentioned, it is indeed a wonderful evening coming in. It's a little bit misty. Seems as if potentially it wants to rain. It's making a decision. But nevertheless, we are here. So this is such a beautiful park. Isn't it a beautiful facility? Yes. So happy to always be here at Veterans Park. I always like to mention that this is one of my favorite parks. My son Joshua, at the age of 7, decided that he wanted to play soccer, and this is where he started out. And I'm so proud to say that he has done very well under the leadership of the sports director for soccer here, of course, Scott. Where is Scott? I thought you were going to be up here, Scott. Scott played a very strong role in that as well, making sure that we had good coaches, a good system, and a good structure in our sports department, as we have over 2,000 children, student athletes that are in our sports program. That's a lot. Joshua being one of them at the age of 13, because of the great development here. He was recruited to Inter Miami's academy, has gone on and on and on. And I'm proud to say that today he is in England at this particular time, and he is playing he has his American team here, but he plays internationally for Jamaica. So he's one of the reggae boys that are in England right now with the Unity Cup. And so they played a game last night. They won 2-0. And there's another game that is upcoming. Don't ask me when it is, because I can't watch it. But he is the goalie. And so I am so grateful tonight and honored to stand here to say thank you so much, Scott, for your leadership and what you continue to do for our parks and recreational department, and most importantly for our young people. Please give him a hand. Okay, we are here to talk about safety. And you guys have been following the series, right? It has really been interesting, hasn't it? You know, my favorite one, they've all been very good, Chief, but I must tell you, favorite has been the way we talked about, what was it again? The roads and traffic. I didn't realize I was going to be so interested. and traffic and all of that stuff. But it was so interesting, and in fact, to the point where I've asked the chief if we can somehow, in the future, be able to do that presentation again. It was so informative, and the presentation from the police department, as well as our fire department, was just exquisite. And we will be doing it again. But tonight, we'll be talking about hurricane readiness, what happens if there is a disaster of sorts, which we're anticipating, but nevertheless, we have to be prepared. Talking about power outage, flooding, those things that affect all of us, city of Lauderhill, at some point or the other, right? And so we're going to be talking about the resources that we have in the city of Lauderhill, who those key persons are that you will contact in the event that you have you will consider to be some sort of a disaster, and making sure that your homes, whether you live in a single family home, whether you live in an apartment or a condo, that you are well prepared and informed in terms of who you would need to contact, where you would need to go, would need as well. We'll also speak with our manager as it relates to organizations, community partnerships that we have engaged to be able to get us supplies, right? Hurricane supplies, which would be distributed, of course, fire department. And so I am here tonight as well as a student. Isn't it good to always be a student? You have to be a student of something, right? At points in your life, to be able to listen to the leaders in the city having to do with hurricane readiness and preparedness, as well as what happens when a disaster of sorts affects us in the city of Lauderhill. And now would like to just have the leadership that is up here to introduce themselves. And MIS, do we have an extra mic? Our deputy fire chief is back here as well. Yes, could you come up to the front? I'm so sorry about that. And I had called for our deputy, police chief too. Officer Lawrence can come up front too. I know you always like to watch us in the back and make sure we're well protected, and the other leaderships as well. Okay, wonderful. We have the mic? Yes. We will start with our city manager. Isn't he doing an amazing job? Mr. Kenny Hobbs. Yes, Mr. Hobbs. We can't do it without you, sir.
So just introduction.
Yes.
Thank you. She just introduced me. But Kenny Hobbs, city manager here with the city of Lauderhill. I've been with the city probably a little over about 35 years at this point. Prior to being the city manager for the past year and about 6 months, I was the deputy city manager. Prior to that, the assistant city manager, and then the finance director for about 22 years. So again, it's a pleasure serving the residents of the city of Lauderhill. I am a real lifer, I guess you would say, not just working here at the city, but as well as living in the city. I moved here with my mother probably back in 1981 to the city of Lauderhill, and have only lived outside of the city for about a year that entire time. So again, Lauderhill is truly my home, so it's important to me that we do well here as a city, because it not only affects, I'm not looking at it just from a job perspective, but from a personal perspective, because I was raised and my kids were all raised in this great city. So again, I'm happy to see everyone here tonight. As stated by the mayor, my role in tonight's discussion is minimal as well. Because even though I'm the city manager, when it comes to emergency management, my role is to step back and allow the emergency managers, which is the fire chief and the police chief, to pretty much take us through that period of time. Obviously, the mayor always leads through that period of time, but from an administrative standpoint, the fire and police chiefs take the primary role through the emergency management process. So again, I'll probably have a lot less to say tonight. This is probably the most you'll hear me speak tonight than usual. But again, it's a pleasure being your city manager here in the city of Lauderhill. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Darrell Jordan. I am Code Compliance Supervisor. The Director of Code Compliance is Nadia Chen.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Newton, Recreation Director. In Parks and Rec, we're not supposed to have a favorite park, but this is one of my favorite parks.
Good evening, Robert Torres, and I serve as your fire chief.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tamika Dennis, the Interim Public Works Director.
Good evening. I'm Constance Stanley, Chief of Police.
Evening, everyone. My name is Sean Henderson. I serve as your Deputy City Manager and Finance Director.
Officer Lonis, Community Relations.
Ryan Gabner, Battalion Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Kevin Granville, Deputy Chief of Police.
Wonderful. Please give them a hand. The leadership in the city of Lauderhill. All right, at this time, I am going to yield to our police chief, Chief Stanley, and she will take it from here. Thank you kindly.
Ooh, careful, careful. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank all of you for continuing to come to these events. Again, education is key, and you heard from the mayor herself to say she also learned some things, even though she's a mayor of the city. But again, we all can take time in our daily lives to learn. You're never too old to learn, and I learned too myself, even though I've been with the city for a long time. So you heard the city manager mention earlier that when we have these events, he kind of takes a seat back. He oversees, but he relies on first responders to kind of keep him informed and take over because we do what we do. Mayor, I was saying earlier, there are two young ladies in the audience who's come to all of the events with the exception of one. So I think that, we want to recognize them and those who have come to several of the other events. I appreciate you all coming out. That shows that you really care and you do want to learn. So I won't steal the fire chief's thunder, but I know we recently had an emergency management exercise, which I thought was great, that it included all of the departments, just to see how we function when it comes to an emergency situation. So one of the things I wanted to point out, and we're starting that tonight, educating the community is key. So one of the things that and I want to talk about how police assist other department heads. We help with the evacuation, letting you know where evacuation routes are. I think it's important for you all to tune in, have another means of having some form of communication, whether it's radio or whatever the means are, just to stay in touch with what's going on. Also, what I think is important is making sure you have the necessary supplies ahead of time. So one thing about Florida, and I had brothers that lived in California, I said I'd rather live in Florida than California because with the earthquakes, you have no warning, but at least here in Florida, you have several days of warnings, as to a storm coming. So you have enough time to prepare. So you want to make sure you do that. Have your flashlights, batteries, things of that nature. Also, what I wanted to talk about was taking pictures pre and post storm. It's important because there may be items in your home that you sometimes forget about, and it's important to take pictures. We do that in the city, take pictures of items that we have around the police department or internally that we feel may suffer damage from the storm. So it's important to have those pictures for not only insurance in the event that your home may be looted, because again, people take advantage of these opportunities as well. So you want to be mindful of that. I would also encourage you to, large items that have serial numbers, take a picture of those items or write them down, because if you have to report them later without that, it's useful for us. If we're entering that information, say an item was lost or, during a storm, or it was stolen, your house was broken into, it's important when you're including those information in the report to have that information traceable, and plus insurance companies also appreciate that. So you want to make sure you do those things. Also, one I wanted to talk about is one of the programs we have is Extra Watch. So if any of you leave your homes for whatever reason during a storm, say you're staying with another family member due to damage, we have that free service available so that you can call us. When you complete the forms, just make sure you include pertinent information, more than one contact information, an address, and perhaps an email as to where you're going to be. So we will be able to communicate you in the event that something does happen. Also, when calling in for emergencies, make sure it's an emergency. As we know, everybody's going to be dealing with things. Lights out, you're going to have a whole lot of issues. So there's going to be a lot of calls into 911. Again, they're aware of the areas that are impacted by it. So just make sure it's a true emergency so you won't clog up the lines. Traffic safety and control is one of the other areas that we also assist with. So there, we help with evacuating routes, and also traffic lights often go out during this time. So we, with the assistance of these, and also having personnel out there, we do direct traffic and direct people where to go. And we also will put information out there to let you know what areas not to take. What areas that may be, if there's traffic congestion. So these are some of the things that we provide as well. Just to make sure I covered everything. Again, we work closely with our Public Works Department, our Fire Department, and I can tell you that anytime we have a situation, I can call on Tamika Dennis to provide assistance, and I can call on if anything is needed. And all departments very close together, hand in hand. Also, one of the things that our officers is with emergency and rescue efforts. Our officers are also trained to assist if medical needs apply, and just keep in mind a lot of times we're the first responders on scenes, so we have to be able to engage and provide some medical assistance fire department can get in to assist. So these are some of the trainings that we have and what we offer, and that we also rescue. So there may be people missing as a result of a storm, so we assist with providing those rescue efforts. One of the other things I wanted to mention, some of us may lose lives as a result of the storm, so we do have victim advocates available in the event that someone needs counseling or they, can refer them. So as far as the police department, these are some of the things that we provide. So I guess turn it over to, the fire chief?
Thank you very much, Chief Stanley. Good evening again. So today I'm going to be a little bit of the bearer of bad news, right? And that is, according to the news and the media and all of the universities do studies predicting how many storms we should be expecting in this 2026 hurricane season, the numbers came back with 16 named storms. Okay? 6 of them are projected to become hurricanes, and approximately 3 of them becoming major hurricanes. But worry not, because the numbers were very similar last year, and we were very fortunate here in South Florida. But remember this, all we really need is one hurricane. We don't need 16. We don't need 6 bad. Hurricane Andrew, it was a storm, and that was enough to devastate South Florida. So with that being said, I ask you that the biggest thing that we could do as a community is prepare, right? And we say that often, and we hear it on the news and social media, prepare. And sometimes even myself, we take it for granted. And we wait until the storm develops in the Atlantic, and we start following the cone, right? The cone of the storm. And then we start looking at, is it a category 1? Because we can manage a 1. Is it a 3? Is it a 5? And in which direction is it coming? Is it coming to South Florida? Is it going to go towards the west? But we cannot guide ourselves based on that to prepare ourselves, because it's Mother Nature, and it could take whatever turn it wants at whatever given time. So the best thing that we could do is prepare ourselves, prepare our homes, prepare our families, and make those preparations early on. Everyone here knows how Home Depot can get when the announcement starts that we have a hurricane in the horizon, right? Everything comes off the shelves. We go to Publix and you can't find water. Tonight, Battalion Chief Cabinet is going to explain exactly what type of preparations we need to have at our homes and how long we need to prepare for, how much water we need to have for our families, and ensuring that we have everything that we need. Here in the city of Lauderhill, we have what we call an emergency management division, which provides that kind of security for our resident. We have an EOC, which is an Emergency Operations Center. It's located at our headquarters, 1980 Northwest 56th Avenue, where Station 57 is located. State-of-the-art, second floor, where we will actually house all of the department directors to come together and those decision makers so that they could stay there and they house there during the storm until everything passes. In that location, we're able to monitor the condition of the storm, and we could actually see, because now we have new technology through drones. We have 2 drones in the fire department that we will actually deploy, right? And we could see the conditions of our city before and after the storm. So we know exactly where all those resources need to be deployed to ensure that we can start opening up our roads, which is the main thing, so that emergency vehicles can drive through. We have created task forces, right, that it composes between fire department personnel, police department, public works, and we get them out to start opening up our roads so emergency vehicles could get through. We're going to be positioning those vehicles in strategic locations throughout the city. So regardless of where the significance of the impact is, we will have units out there to start opening roads to allow for emergency vehicles to come through and providing assistance. Understanding that during the actual impact period of a storm, when it reaches 65 miles per hour wind sustained, meaning constant wind, not just a quick flush of wind, but constant sustained winds of 65 miles per hour or above, emergency vehicles cannot be on the road because they will then become victims, right? Our vehicles are not equipped to sustain that amount of wind, so we need to be able to house them and hold them secured until the winds subside. At that time, we'll start responding and addressing the other emergencies that are starting to come in. One of the questions that we received through one of the mayor's meetings here is what happens when I lose power and I can no longer communicate with 911? And that was, I thought it was a fantastic question that had never come up. A couple of things that we could do. One, continue to utilize the 911 number, because many a time these new phones, state-of-the-art phones and smartphones, can still send the signal for 911 only. So please, that needs to be your first attempt. Continue to dial 911. If that fails, go to text messages. That text message has an emergency activation mode that may still be active and receive the call in a 911 center. So you need to attempt that. If you have a landline, how many people here still have a phone attached to the wall? 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number. But as you can see, not many of us longer hold those landlines. If you have that and they still work, utilize the landlines, all right? You may still be able to send signals through internet. So if your internet's still active, you may be able to send notification of a 911 call, right? We're working with the city to create posts, meaning community posts, where once the power's out, you can no longer communicate. When the winds subside and you could safely exit at home, you may be able to go to that post and communicate your emergency, right? Where we will have CERT members. How many CERT members do we have here? Nobody. All right. So you need to join. CERT is our Citizen Emergency Response Team. And these are personnel from our community that the fire department will train, prepare you, give you explanation on how you can respond to emergencies and assist us, the police and the fire department, in this case of disasters. All right? So if you're interested, please share with me your information. We will contact you and set up some classes for you to join. This is going to be extremely important to our community because those are going to be the eyes and ears for us when everything else fails. All right? I'm going to bring Chief Gabner. He's going to talk very quickly about the preparation kits that we need to have in order of a storm if strikes. How do you need to prepare yourself and your family?
All right, thank you. Chief Torres, I'm going to put my rosy-colored glasses on. So last year, they predicted, I think, 17, 18 named storms, and we didn't get one hurricane in the continental United States. So we're hoping that trend continues this year. So to kind of echo what Chief Stanley said, as Chief Torres said, you have to be proactive rather than reactive. And we like to repeat things because it really puts a message across. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. a go bag, a go kit, a hurricane supply kit. I'm going to talk about generator safety and also sandbags. So the first thing, a go kit, a go bag, stuff we have every day that we take for granted, okay? Water, depending on your house size, if you have a family of 4, you should have a gallon a day per person. We want to have at least 7 days worth of supplies. So I remember as a child, my parents had this and they hid it in the closet. And if they didn't use it for hurricane season, we just used it where we returned it. So you want to have enough water for everybody in the household, at least a gallon a day per person for a total of 7 days. Other things, non-perishable food, medications. The things that we need every day is what we want to strive for. Flashlights, batteries for the flashlights. All right, nowadays these LED lights work great. And if you don't want to use them, or if you don't tend to use them, they work as great stocking stuffers for Christmas because hurricane season ends November 30th. Pet supplies, baby supplies if needed. Also, just manual can opener, the things that you don't really tend to think about in case the power goes out. So, important documents as well. We saw how receptive the city is to flooding, right? Flooding can happen anywhere, not just from the outside, it can come from the inside as well. People tend to think about it's always going to be the outside source, but it could be an inside source as well. So, utilize your everyday bags, plastic bags, all your documents. If you don't have a safe, you want to protect all your essential stuff, your birth certificates, social security cards, all those good things. When it comes to generator safety, anything that off gases, that we use gas for, 2-cycle, 4-cycle engines, we want to keep away from inside, okay? We're worried about what with carbon dioxide, or I almost said it. With generators, what are we worried about? Carbon monoxide, okay? Displaces oxygen 50 times to 1. Colorless and odorless. You're not going to see it, you're not going to smell it until it's too late. So even when you have a generator and it's outside with the garage open, that wind might be pushing it right into the house. So always, always, always be mindful about how far you have it from there. They're designed to be outside for the elements, but be mindful about how you store it and also where you have it running because you don't want it to off-gas into where your corridors are. Finally, sandbags. The city does a phenomenal job with sandbag distributions, but don't use that as a Band-Aid. Okay? Everyone thinks that that's going to keep the water out. It's not going to keep all the water out. It's going to help divert some of the water, but it's not going to be the end-all, fix-all when it comes to that type of safety. Okay? And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Chief Torres.
Thank you, Ryan. A couple of other things I want to touch real quick. Don't forget about the special needs people. So we need to make sure that if you are special needs, you require oxygen, you require dialysis, treatment, you need to make notifications and preparations early on where you may have to find a better location to be able to store your needs. So Parks Department helps us out with special population needs. They keep a list, and we've had a lot of residents move into our city, which is great. We need to be notified. If you need those special needs, notify us so he can put you on the list, and we will make contact with you prior to a storm, way ahead of the storm, to ensure that you have the proper preparations and arrangements for whether it's oxygen, dialysis, any special need medical equipment that you require. Let us know early so that we can make arrangements for you. Maybe you need to go to a special shelter, right, with your pets. That needs to be coordinated early on. Don't wait until the last minute because the shelters do get filled up quickly. And if you need a place to go, you need to make those arrangements early, especially for your pets. He talked about the sandbags, and I'm going to talk to you about FPNL very briefly. I think the manager talked about connections and networks that we have done over the years to ensure that not just the fire department is prepared, the police department, and the city as a whole. We make networking and connections with an FPNL. This year, the city manager was kind enough to agree to an agreement with FPNL where they will be using the LPAC parking lot. Everybody knows where that's at? 441 and Sunrise Boulevard, the big space. So FPNL is going to be staging their vehicles there if we have a storm. But strategically, we told them that if they're going to be using our site, we would like to be receiving preferences for restoring power to our community, right? So it's mutual agreement. We help you, and you will help us. Because power is very important to us, right? And it's important to all of us. So we need to ensure that we could secure that. Now, a little bit of awareness when the power goes out, and this is not just during storm. even though a regular heavy winds and we lose power, keep this in mind. If you lose power to your home and you leave papers, newspaper, anything on top of your stove, when the power is restored, that's when we start responding because paper catches fire. And now we're responding to a structure fire in your home. So please, 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 keep all those papers, newspapers, and items away from the stove, because when the power comes back and you don't get notified, guess what? We're going to have a fire, and we definitely don't want that after a storm or after any power outages. Let's see what else. We did have a wonderful exercise. Thank you, Chief Stanley, for bringing that up, where we were able to exercise our capabilities at the fire department and our EOC. We have members from the municipal EOC, from our county EOC. The director of the EOC was actually at our building, pretty much giving us feedback on how we are doing and how well we are prepared for storms. That's another connection that we've made over the years to ensure that when Lauderhill loses all of our resources, so to make it completely clear, when we're out of bobcats and we're out of heavy equipment to mobilize items and debris out of the streets, my first phone call as the emergency manager coordinator to the city manager is to Broward County. So I will reach out to Clay Pacheco, which is the emergency manager director for Broward County, and I will say, Clay, I need this heavy equipment. We don't have it. And he will be able, that is the process, to contact the state through what we call Web EOC, which is a platform that is utilized to make contact with the state of Florida and request a resource on those assets. So those assets could come back to us and provide assistance to our city. But we have to follow the process. My initial contact is going to be, well, actually, initially will be to Sunrise. So I'll contact the fire chief in Sunrise, and I'll say, John, I need another truck, or I need a bobcat, or I need a dump truck, right? If he doesn't have it, I'm going to reach out to Fort Lauderdale, which I also have my contact there, and all my surrounding municipalities. If they don't have it, I'm going to go to the county. The county's going to make the request to the state, so the state can provide that resource to us. So we have network of connections and partnerships so that we are not left alone. It's not something that we need to handle, and we could handle all by ourselves. When our resources are out of it, then we could reach out to the others to give us a hand. One thing that we learned during the April floods, everyone remembers the April floods? They said it was once in 100 years that they're supposed to happen. I don't know why, but that year we got tons of floods. I don't think it was really once in 100 years. But nevertheless, it was a great learning opportunity. We learned our weaknesses, and we learned some of our strength. And we're able to turn some of the weaknesses into strength today, right? With the assistance of the city manager and the city leadership, we're able to create plans on how we could create better drainage in our canals, improve our infrastructures to ensure that flooding doesn't happen again, or at least it's minimized, to minimize the impact to our community. So we have done great things to improve drainage in our city, believe it or not. And we will continue to do so through the plans of the city manager. But floods were incredible to us and very dangerous. We have done things in our department as well to be able to give us access into heavy flooded areas. Like we lifted, right, the height of our trucks because we had fire trucks that were stuck in water, just like vehicles as well. One thing that I learned personally after those storms, which became the biggest piece and the longest piece of the hurricane, of the storm itself, was recovery. How do we recover a community after a storm? How to establish contact with FEMA so they could come open up DRCs, right, which are establishments that we had one in the Second Center, we had another one at St. George Park, to ensure that our community had an opportunity to bring their concerns, bring their pictures. Very important. I think that the police chief mentioned about taking pictures before and after the storm. That is the key. That is the key for reimbursement. That is the key for grants. That is the key for us for assistance after the storm. So please make sure that you take pictures before and after the storm, especially floods. Right? I walked into homes where the water was easily as high as the handle. That's devastation. All that driveway was destroyed. But if you don't take proper pictures, it never happened. It's our opinion, our words, versus what the reality is. So those pictures were very important. So please make sure that you take enough accountability, enough pictures, secure. If you have a business, secure, back up all your information from your business computer. If you have important papers, secure those papers, right? Because after the storm, you're going to have to retrieve that and present that as proof. So that's imperative. What else, Ryan? I think we've hit a lot, right? And there's a lot more that we could share, and we're going to start sharing via social media and reminder, because not all of these things you will be able to remember tonight. But our key is preparedness, right? And information, and like they said, education. We're going to start bombarding you with information via social media. Check our websites. We're going to have a lot of information, the checklist of preparation items that you need to have in your home. We're going to send that out to you. And please, please, prepare early. Don't wait until the cone appears and they start telling you that it's heading towards South Florida. As the hurricane season starts, which is going to be June 1st, right around the corner, it ends November 30th. Please start the proper preparations for your community, the proper preparations for your family and for yourself. And just like they said, when you take a flight and you go on an airplane and the mask drops, the first person to take care of has to be yourself before you can help anybody else. So please prepare your homes, prepare your families, and let's have a very safe and quiet hurricane season. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chief. That was so good. Wasn't that informative? Okay, I have a question for you regarding FEMA, but before I do that, I want to open it up to everyone. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Yes, sir. You can stand. Go ahead.
The city put out a list of what is needed by everybody. I mean, people don't think you need cash. ATMs are down. Stuff like that. So the city can put out a list for everybody.
Right. Do you have an extra mic? Is there another one? Okay, only two. Only two. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions? Concerns? Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening to everyone. I'm not really having a question, but just to highlight and to elaborate on what the gentlemen have said before about safety. One of the critical things I think we should try to embrace, that we be more neighbor friendly. Neighbors should be able to talk to the neighbor to assist in case of crisis. Because the fact is, even those things might be there for us, 911 and all of that, it could be that somebody is in a problem situation, traveling to the location, but being hampered by something on the road. And that delay could have maybe caused the person's life. While if a neighbor step up and say, well, then let me assist this person. So I would suggest, if it's not in place already, that neighbors who are very close, change numbers, know your neighbor, be neighbor friendly. And some of the times too, what I realize some people are doing, instead of helping a person in a crisis situation, they start doing videos. Instead of put aside the video, help the person, and if anything, you follow up with that. Everybody wants to get it on media, to get a like. So it is good, even though those things are very important, and we should not stay away from not connecting ourselves to them. But the initial thing, I believe, one of the most critical criteria is to know your neighbor, be able to assist just in case the emergency vehicles cannot reach in time. You may be able to help in whatever way that is. Thank you.
Very, very good. Practical information, but very imperative. We are indeed our brother's keepers, and very good. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Good evening. I got a question, since we're talking about emergency preparedness. It might deviate a little bit from hurricanes, but in the news recently, there was a article talking about a chemical plant explosion. And I'm not too familiar with the entire city of Lauderhill. I don't know if we have any chemical plants in the city boundaries. How are we prepared for something like that? If something like that should happen, do we have like a hazmat response team, a ChemPack system, or anything like that?
Yeah, excellent question. No, we don't have a chemical plant per se, but so the county provides that kind of a service. The hazardous materials team, there are actually 4 in the county. Broward Sheriff's Office provides one of them. Hollywood Fire Rescue provides another one. Sunrise Fire Rescue has a hazmat team. And Florida Fire Rescue has a hazmat team. So those are regional services, regional units that we could deploy at any given time. In fact, the Broward Sheriff's Office is already including your taxes. So every year when we pay taxes, we pay those regional services. Helicopter, hazmat, TRT, they're included as well. So yes, they are in preparations for any kind of those major incidents, but thankfully in our city, we do not have a chemical plant for an explosion.
All right, thank you.
Excellent question, sir.
My question, thank you. My question is this: when we had Wilma, okay, where I live, I'm right off of 45th Court. We didn't have electric for a little over 2 weeks, which was, well, I was lucky because I was working and I got food. But most people, most companies, I think, and Publix and the stores have generators now. They didn't back then. My question is, what is your relationship with FP&L as far as restoring power to most of us? I guess we're probably mostly going to lose power if we have another Cat 5. So that's my question.
Yes, ma'am, great question. And we actually do have a very good relationship with FP&L. I've seen that representative for FP&L more than ever in our city in the recent weeks. So I can tell you that we do have a great relationship. And like I mentioned earlier, we actually created an agreement with FP&L to allow them to stage their emergency vehicles, their power vehicles that are going to be restoring those power lines in our city, which is going to help us get a much quicker response to our residents after a storm.
Okay, I hate to add something else, but most of the northwest section of Lauderhill has high wires. And my question is the city doing anything about getting the wires put underground so we don't have to deal with as many of these outages?
I do believe that's one of their projects, to actually start moving those lines from above to underground to prevent those outages as frequent.
Yes, good evening. So that project, as Chief says, it is a reoccurring project that's happening right now. It is on the east, central, and the west side of Lauderhill. FP&L does have subcontractors that are going through each neighborhood, and it's not just Lauderhill, it's actually other cities as well, and they're doing it in preparation for hurricane season. So it is an active project that's happening right now, all throughout Lauderhill. And they've been doing it concurrently, right? So it's been happening subsequently. They've started before. It hasn't just started now. They've been doing it, and it's been proactive since. So yes, it is a continuing project. Yes, you're welcome.
My question is, in our area here, we tend to have a lot of flooding. And since I've lived in Lauderhill for almost 20-something years, my garage have been filled with water at least twice. What has the city been doing in terms of rectifying some of those issues? I know they've done some work on the canals, and recently I know that they've done some street work. So I don't know how this is going to impact us, because from what I've seen, some of the street work seems to be higher than some of the driveways, and I'm concerned that that's going to push water back onto the property.
So may I ask, and I'll allow Tamika to answer the question in detail, but have you had issues with flooding recently, though, the last year or two?
Not since they've redone the canals.
Right. So that was one of the things. I just wanted to make sure that, because there was actually a stormwater plan that was completed several years ago, and we've made some improvements based on that plan. But to me, speak
but
to
also,
the
we haven't had a significant amount of
we've
rain
had some
thus far.
rains. We've had some rains, and I asked the question because we haven't seen the type of flooding that we've previously seen. So again, we would have simple rains, and if you lived on 82nd West, north of 50th, it flooded. And we, so we recognize that. But we did have a stormwater plan, a study that was done, and we've made improvements based on that plan. Now, those improvements are usually part of our annual budget, so we go through a process to make those. But there were some improvements that were made immediately, so that's why I wanted to ask that question, if you were still seeing, having those flooding issues.
Not within the...
Not as
for
much,
sure.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Tamika Dennis, the Interim Public Works Director. I'll take an opportunity right behind you to go ahead into the presentation. So just so everyone is well aware, thank you very much to our fire department and to our police department. Please trust and believe that Lauderhill is in really great hands. They do an amazing job in preparation and planning. And of course, the reoccurring theme tonight is preparation. Right? So you have to know your plan. You have to put together a plan if you don't already have one. And what our fire department and our police department has done, our fire department has actually put us through that exercise that you heard and we mentioned that was actually just recently, last week, and we are in full hurricane preparation mode. Public Works prides ourselves in being a direct support for our fire department, our emergency operations center, our police department in the event of an emergency. And I say an emergency because that doesn't always mean a hurricane. It doesn't always mean a storm. As our fire chief mentioned, we had the April floods. That took everyone by surprise, and it was not a hurricane, and it was not a storm. So we are in full emergency preparation mode. We have been since March, and we go into 3 months of full proactive pre-preparation for hurricanes, for emergencies, for the Public Works Department. And that includes making sure that both the west, central, and east side of Lauderhill is taken care of as far as drainage is concerned, catch basin cleaning. So I know sometimes residents will say, hey, well, we haven't seen you. We're there. Early in the morning before you wake up to go to work or go about your day, we're there. During the day, sometimes on the weekends, and if it calls for it, at night. So at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you may see some lights in the dark down your street, but that's going to be Public Works. But yes, we pride ourselves in making sure that we are proactive, making sure that we're responsive. So if you call, then we will be there. We'll provide you with the information. You can call us. I know a lot of residents reach out when they watch the news and they see that something's brewing out there in the ocean, and they want to know, well, what is Public Works doing? Are we running the pumps? Yes, we are in full preparation mode of doing all of those. We've done improvements and upgrades to our Pump Station A, which services the west side of Lauderhill. We've done also with our Pump Station B, which services central and east side of Lauderhill, but just making sure that we are in preparation mode. But what is most important, as we talked about, the reoccurring theme is making sure that you're prepared, making sure that you're educated and you have the knowledge that you need to prepare your own homes, your own families, so that way we can serve you. Our leadership has done an amazing job, our city manager, our mayor, vice mayor, and commissioners, in making sure that in the event that sandbags are needed, that we have those distribution centers for you. So you will see Public Works out making sure that those sandbag distribution centers are available for you in the event that you need them. But as was mentioned, it's not the end-all be-all, so we don't rely completely on sandbags, and that's going back to where that preparation and that plan is most important. So education is key. As you see on the Public Works table, I've brought some informational packets for you. It has one that talks on the spotlight on stormwater and also flood safety and preparedness. So it just gives you some information there as to what Public Works is doing, what the City of Lauderhill is doing, and what you can do in order to prepare your homes and your families, not just for a hurricane, but just for an emergency. So that way you can know what to do, when to do, and how to do it before the pressure is on, before the lights go out, before the emergency happens. Now, again, when it comes to Public Works, we're doing our catch basin cleaning. We've done our upgrades. You've mentioned that you have not seen a lot of flooding in this area because we've done a lot of the work already. Our management and our leadership has put the time and the funds together to make sure that we can prepare the areas that were having major flooding issues, problem areas, so that way we can have those addressed. And because of that, you've seen a significant decrease, which is helpful. So when those times do come, that is what we can rely on as well, to know that the City of Lauderhill has been prepared and we've put measures in place. Okay? I did touch on the sandbag distribution. The city manager mentioned it, but just so you know, that is something that at the city manager's direction, at our mayor and their leadership's direction, they will provide those sandbags. I know in the past they've been very proactive, very great with making sure that we have those available. Actually, this was one of the distribution locations right here at Veterans Park and all across the city, to make sure that you come with your city ID to those distribution centers. You can show your ID and we'll be able to provide those for you. As Chief mentioned, to our vulnerable population, you don't have to worry. Don't come with a shovel. We will help and do whatever it is that we need to make sure that you're prepared. We'll carry them to the vehicle for you, but just make sure that you come with your city ID. And of course, if you're not already registered on ReadyOp and with the information to make sure that you can get that information when it's available, whether you go onto our website, you call the City of Lauderhill, you call Public Works. I'll make sure I provide that number as well, but just to make sure that you're informed. Is the city having any distribution of sandbags? Yes, we are, and these are the locations, these are the times. Most often, it's first come, first serve, so it's good to know that you are connected and you have that information, so that way you're available when it's ready. Okay? Thank you.
I received an email showing that on June 6th, Lauderdale Lakes is doing hurricane preparedness free giveaway. Is the city doing anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I have the email right here.
Lauderdale Lakes is doing a hurricane preparedness free giveaway on June 6th.
Yeah.
Usually when we have those preparedness or those giveaways, sandbag distribution as well, it's at the direction of our EOC, our Emergency Operations Center, depending on what the magnitude of the storm or the emergency is, and at the direction of the city manager, we move from there, and yes, we put that information out. We don't have something on June 6th, but I'm sure as we go into hurricane season, which is June 1st, and hurricane season goes until November 30th. What I do want to make mention before I go is that it's important to stay prepared the entire hurricane season. I'm sure Chief and both chiefs can remember that there was a time, this was most recently, when we had a clear hurricane season. June 1st to November, we were looking good. It was smooth. And then literally at the end of November, right before November 30th, was when we got hit, right? And we had to deal with full emergency preparation at that mode. So please, don't think that just because it's November 28th, Thanksgiving comes around, okay, we're good, hurricane season's over. Please stay prepared until the 30th. Please be vigilant until that time. Okay?
Add to this, if you guys have seen this flyer, it does say that Saturday, June 6th, there's a bunch of different cities that are going to be giving out supplies for hurricane. We are not on the, however, what we have done in the past is we've always just informed, whether it's constant contact or just somehow getting the message out to our residents that we do have supplies available, and our fire department, of course, is the one that you can go to be able to get those sort of supplies. And so this is actually very good. I see that our community partner, city manager, are on here as well, GEM, who we work very closely with, as well as Food for the Poor and some of these other organizations. And so what we will do in the future, we will add ourselves to this list as well to ensure that we are making sure that all of the residents get what they need. So this is very good information. Thank you so much for bringing it up. And thank you to our police department as well for ensuring that we have the flyer. We'll make sure that you have this too, and we will also be included in the next one. Does that sound good? Yes, that's excellent. All right, thank you. We have a question.
Yes, I have a question. I'm living in a 5-story condominium.
Can you stand for us, please? I'm so sorry. Can you stand? I'm sorry.
Yes. I am living in a five-story condominium, and if there's an emergency, there's only one entrance in. How do we get out of the condominium and there's not a fire escape there? No, just one entrance in.
What's the location again?
In Lauderhill there. A 5-story condominium I'm living in, and there's just one entrance in, and nowhere to get out if there's an emergency. How do we deal with that?
What is the name of the condominium?
Heights of Hinbury.
The Isles?
The Isles of Hinbury and Oakland Park.
And there's one entrance and one exit.
Just one entrance to come in and nowhere to go out at the back. If there's an emergency, there's no fire escape. And we're living on the 2nd floor. This is it. What is that?
But I assure you that emergency vehicles, we have access. Even if there's an exit, we have devices in our vehicles to allow us to enter your building in both directions. So we are actually installed by law. There's a new law, it's called Click to Enter, that requires the condominiums to install in their gates that the fire department as well as the police department through a radio frequency that we have, and will be able to enter your complex automatically without the need of a key. So we'll be able to make entry and obviously assist our residents in need. I think, unfortunately, like the mayor said, when we're on the top floor, we got to get ourselves out quickly. We cannot, unfortunately, create additional exits, but do make sure that you plan for those emergencies. So we need to exercise our emergency exit plans, right? Just like you've done as a kid in school, when you exercise a fire drill, we need to make sure that our families are well informed of the location of where to meet after an actual either fire or any type of emergency. Sure. We'll take a look. We'll get your address, we'll take a look and see if there are any recommendations that we could bring up to your attention on how you can make a safer exit out of your home. Fair? Great.
So we live in Castle Gardens by 49th Avenue, by the school, the STEM school. And so there's a water tower there. So does the Public Works Department go and investigate the water towers in the city to make sure that they're structurally safe?
That's a good. So Public Works will not do that, but we have our building department that invests our structures, and they will make sure that buildings, those facilities. So the water tower you're talking about is inside of Castle Gardens?
It's on 49th Avenue. The tanks, but they're water tanks by the school.
Yeah. You're talking about the water treatment plant? Those tanks? Yeah. That's what this is with the utilities department. So yes, the utilities department, they inspect those, they make sure that they have the adequate amount of water that they need for emergency purposes. And our building inspector, they also inspect those facilities as well.
To make sure they're not going to collapse like in a storm.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
By law, by state statutes,
Yes, indeed.
we do have inspections that our utilities department has to comply with, Department of Environmental Protection, to make sure that we are adequate and up to standard with inspections and adequacy for water. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we also conduct training yearly with the fire department and the personnel of the water treatment plant to ensure that not only the tank is safe, but our personnel is trained in case they do fall into the tanks, we could properly extricate them and bring them out into safety. We train them with SCBAs to ensure that everyone is safe when they work at our water plant. But thank you for caring. I appreciate that.
If the water gets over 2 feet, and it can, all the houses are built over 3 feet, a lot of problems that we had in the past, police cars especially, the radiator or the fan blade went into the radiator because it hit water. And that was a big problem. They ended up using front end loaders to evacuate people. Is there a plan for that?
So I cannot give you an exact number, but what I can tell you is that we have high water vehicles in all departments. So over the last 5+ years, we recognized, again, because of some of the floods we encountered, that we needed to have more high water vehicles. So we have them not just in police, but we have them in fire, we have them in public works, we have them in utilities, we have them in the CRA. So we have high water vehicles in all of the departments. And I can tell you that when an event occurs, that is how like public officials like the mayor and whatnot are actually able to move out and throughout the city. We have to do assessments, so I can tell you 4 or 5 years ago we made it a priority to start purchasing those vehicles and kind of strategically placing them within the various departments.
And as a matter of fact, actually, make your way out today. His vehicle is a battalion vehicle. It's a very high vehicle. We've done it intentionally for those reasons, to make sure that we have direct access when the water is too high. So we have 2 of those, the 2 supervisors. They're higher vehicles to get us into higher waters and be able to move our victims to higher grounds. So we have, like the manager says, we've been buying yearly higher vehicles exactly for that reason. And for those of you who don't know, I'll take this moment to introduce Mr. Pete Gannon. He's actually a retired battalion chief from our city, from our fire department, retired after many years, but still very concerned. it's still a very concerned citizen of our community to ensure that we're all safe. So thank you, Chief Gannon.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Any other questions, concerns? All right. At this time, we're going to have Mr. Darrell from Code Compliance. He's going to give his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Some of the responsibilities of the code officer in preparation. You can't hear me? Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now? Okay, very good. Commercial. Anyway, some of the responsibilities of the code officer in preparation of an anticipated hurricane is to go out into the residential and business areas to identify and address potential hazardous conditions during severe weather. Now, some of the things that the code officer will look for is unsecure, abandoned structures, construction sites to make sure the equipment and material is secured, unsecured dumpsters, loose fences, any type of debris that can become a projectile. As it relates to residential properties, you want to make sure you got all of your patio furniture in, umbrellas or anything, again, that can be picked up in the wind and blown away and become a projectile. This includes your storage sheds as well. During the actual hurricane itself, the city manager has the authority to place the code compliance department under emergency management. And in this capacity, we become strictly a support role. That support role would include working with Public Works. Sometimes Public Works will have to go out before the weather becomes too severe to clear roadways and remove debris to keep the roads open. So code enforcement will go out in support as far as turning their lights on and directing traffic away from that particular area. We also will support the police department. They make requests for us when we have traffic lights that are out, areas that are flooded, and we want to keep people out of those areas. Code enforcement will play a role in that capacity as well. So pretty much we will address issues of concern. Now, we come into a residential area and we see that you're not fully prepared for the hurricane and you still have loose objects in your property or on your property, such as debris, you haven't secured your patio furniture, anything of that nature, then we're going to make a request that you take care of that. And we would hope that you would participate and comply. Pretty much that's pretty much it as far as code enforcement is concerned as it relates to the preparation of a hurricane, during a hurricane, and after a hurricane. So we're primarily in a support role, but the most important part of our job is the preparation to identify potential hazardous conditions and address those conditions. That's pretty much it. Do you have any questions of me pertaining to the role of code enforcement in preparation, during, and after a hurricane? Thank you very much.
No questions at all? Code compliance? Okay, wonderful. All right, so Chief, I had a question as it relates to FEMA. I know there have been some changes, of course, with the new administration and FEMA, and we depend heavily on FEMA, especially in any sort of emergency. And in terms of where we are right now with the relationship, can you share a bit with us?
Excellent question, Mayor. And for what we have been informed, FEMA is looking for the states to create those preparations. So it's up to the states to ensure that we have everything that we need, right, to get through our season, to get through our hurricanes, and to be well prepared. I am sure that once those resources and assets are exhausted, they will come and assist. But as of right now, from what I've been told, what FEMA wants is actually direct the state level to create those preparations, funding mechanisms, everything that is needed, and then they will restore or they will reimburse at the state level. right? So they want the states to handle the emergency, to handle the preparation, to handle the recovery, and then they will look towards the state to be reimbursed. That is what, as far as I know, what is coming down from the FEMA federal government.
For Scott, I know that with the vulnerable population, even before I came an elected official, I would go out with you guys and you would knock on doors before and after hurricanes, and sometimes actually during, right? Just making sure that those persons were okay. Tell us, I know the chief touched on it a bit, how can persons get their family members on that list? And if you can explain as it relates to the process and what happens when they're on that list.
So if you guys have any seniors or vulnerable population, actually you can call the Parks Department at 954-730-3080 and give us their name, and we'll add them to the list. And we do make phone calls prior to storms to make sure everyone's prepared ahead of time and if they have any needs. But it's called the Are You OK program. And so it's not just for storms. We actually make calls, we actually make calls year-round, weekly. So we'll call once a week to anyone on the list. Sometimes we might be the only person they hear from. Maybe they don't have a lot of family. So if you guys have anyone that needs to be on that list, feel free to call my department. We'll get them on the list, and then we'll call weekly, and prior to storms, we make calls as well. And then sometimes we know of needs, like just last week we had a senior who had some needs and needs some help, and we have some agencies that we can call out, like Area Agency on Aging, Heart to Heart. There's some groups that we work with. So a lot of times we can refer them to people that can give more assistance than we can. So really it's just giving us their name and information, and then we'll add them to the list and make those phone calls.
And after a hurricane, do you guys usually see trees down and all of these debris? All right, I want to know from our leadership team, is it wise for residents, homeowners to go out and to pick those things up and start cleaning up immediately? I know that we are partnered, of course, with Waste Management and whatever other companies that come in to help, but what would be your message to the residents when they see trees are all over the place and they're eager to help and to pick up those items?
Great question, Mayor. And what we ask is, these streets that are on the roads, please allow us to get through first and make the initial contact and clearing the roads. I couldn't tell you how many times we respond to emergencies immediately after, as community members are trying to do their best, right, in good intent, and bring out their chainsaws that have not been used in many, many years, and we experience unfortunate injuries related to that. So if it's something that is large and significant in the middle of the road, allow us to get out there, make initial contact. We'll cut them down. Part of what we're doing training, as Tamika mentioned, prior to the hurricane season starting, is that we refresh our memories and we train our personnel in the utilization of chainsaws, right? We'll bring forestry, who have expert instructors on chainsaw utilizations, and they train our personnel to ensure that we're properly trained and refresh their skills when it comes to the utilization of chainsaws. Even though we carry them and we have them in our trucks and we check them out every day, they're truly the experts because they use them all the time when they're fighting forestry fires. So we bring them to our city, they provide that training for us, so we ask you, allow us the initial contact to clear those big trees from the road, although we know that is of good intent of our community and neighbors to help out, right? Allow us the first opportunity to get through, and then I'm sure there'll be other times when you'll be able to clean your own yards and things of that nature. But there's gonna be a lot on the road. We've seen them before. There was even times in one of the hurricanes, remember, we had the National Guard staged here in our city and help us because there was so much debris to be able to clear it out. So I know the intent is good, but many of times, you know, we don't want you to become a victim. At that time, what we want is people to be healthy and be in good hands. Great question, Manager. Power lines, when they're down, a lot of the times they're not live power lines, right? They're not energized, but we don't know that, right away. So please do not go out, and those are the key elements that we want to make sure that you're safe. So do not go out immediately. Wait till we get the all clear. If the communications access are available, we will send social media notifications. We will put it in our websites. We'll have it in our radio stations to ensure that you hear what is happening and what is the next step to take. So very important is to make sure not to go out right away. And I know I think the gentleman in the back said, get to know your neighbors early. Great point, great suggestion. I got to meet my neighbors after Hurricane Andrew. Again, I was a little kid, very, very young during Hurricane Andrew, but I actually got to meet my neighbors after that. We walked out and we got to meet each other, right? In moments of needs. Don't wait until then to get to know your neighbors. Do it early on. To the same point of safety, many a times we have floods and we don't know if a manhole has been opened up. That becomes a tremendous hazard to us. So it's very important to wait for the all clear to make sure you're safe before you make exit out of your home. All right? Thank you.
Yes, shelter for pets.
Yes, shelters will be available. The county has them. We don't have a shelter for pets, but the county does open up. And like I said earlier during the presentation, make sure you make that notification early and you make that reservation because they do fill quickly, right? So make sure that you look and you reach out to the shelters that will be available in the county so you could bring your pets safely there. We're going to be out there. As soon as we get the all clear.
Regarding down trees, what numbers should we be calling?
We will be out there. We will have notification and a phone number that you could contact if you have down tree in front of your yard or in front of your driveway that you cannot drive out. So we will have numbers notifying who to call so that we can come out and remove them from your residence. Yes. Right. That's an excellent question. If available, and that's a great point. We don't carry cash anymore. Everything is credit cards or Apple Pay, so we don't really use cash much. The finance director is here. He is the cash man, so he could tell us how much to have. But I would say safely a couple of $100 at hand to be able to make initial purchases of the necessary things, right? At that time, I don't think we're going to be looking for major purchases. We're looking for the necessities. So I think if you have $1,000 in cash, great. Have them secured so that you have access to that because the time may come and like they said, ATMs are not going to work, right? Because they require power to operate. So cash is going to be very imperative to have.
But also, not just right. So even the stores, they do. All stores are not operating on generators. So if their cash registers are down, they can't process debit cards or even credit cards. So oftentimes you are required to have cash in those instances as well.
Yeah, gas is huge. So make sure that you fill your vehicles with gas and have some reserve. That's always been even a major concern to us in the city to ensure that our vehicles would operate with gas and diesel have the amount of gas. So as part of our preparation, we fill all of our tanks with gas. We ensure we have that available. And many a times we even, like I've said in our USC training, sometimes we got to go to the port and escort a tanker to our city fleet garage to ensure that we could fulfill our gasoline and our diesel tank there to be able to provide for our emergency vehicles.
Give them a hand. This was very informative. Thank you very much. Do you guys have any other questions or concerns? Yes.
This is for Chief Stanley. When, 45th Court, hi neighbor, we lost power for 2.5 weeks. And, it did get hot. A lot of us had generators. We were very respectful. There was a concern, should we leave, maybe go stay at a hotel as other cities were coming back up close by. But we didn't want to leave our homes because of, like you said, the looting. We weren't sure without the power. Obviously, our alarm systems weren't working, camera systems. Mine is on a backup battery system, but many of my other neighbors did not have battery backups at the time. They've since done that since Wilma, but can you give us some advice as to how we should keep ourselves secure as well as our belongings?
So to that point, and again, you know how comfortable you can tolerate things. So say your power goes out and you want to stay in a hotel, again, utilize the service where we do the extra watch for you. The officers working those zones, and we're 24/7 operation, so we will be there. But again, it all depends on how comfortable you are. You can also maybe, again, I like the comment that the young man made about having neighbors. It's good to have neighbors. You could call them nosy neighbors, but it's good to have nosy neighbors. Someone that's going to watch out for you if you're not there. And like I said, provide as much information as you can when you do leave your homes. But take valuables. Take things that you feel if your home may become vulnerable to looters who may recognize you're not there. Make sure you take those valuables. And another tool I would say also, have a device where it appears that you may be home. So maybe, well, the power's out. I was going to say a TV, but there are other devices out there where you can, make people assume that you're at home. But again, it's all in your comfort level. If you don't want to remain in the home and want to, go somewhere safe, just make sure you have, a few things in place. And like I said, take advantage of the service that we will provide. Let me touch on something real quick, Mayor, because I know nobody really thought about it. So a lot of times after the storm, a lot of us become vulnerable because you have people coming around offering services to repair this and repair that. They may dress in clothes that they're, working for a company. Always call the police. Some may pose as working for some county or something with an ID. So just make sure you verify that information before you let people into your home or before you get into a contract. We found that a lot of people who utilize persons to maybe do construction to their home, they're winding up in court, a civil matter, because they signed some documents and this person was not legit. A lot of people take advantage of a vulnerable population when it comes to these storms. So I just wanted to make that point. Thanks.
Yes, one last question. Go ahead.
That has been kind of helpful for me. I have been getting little solar lights, and power banks that are solar operated. So if you lose your power, at least that could sustain you for a little bit. So
Okay.
just wanted to share that.
Yep, that's very good. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Again, thank you for coming out this evening. We really appreciate your time and you being able to engage with us. This is very good interaction, getting all this information. Again, thank you to our leadership team and for them to convey this important stuff to us. I think we are better prepared, don't you think? One of the things as well that I took out of this is we're going to ensure that we have some sort of an event, or we'll figure something out of how to be able to readily get the supplies to you. I'll work with the city manager and his team in order to do that. So you'll be hearing more about that as well. And do know that we're working quite diligently. We are in very good hands. And we thank so much to our fire chief and his leadership team as well, just making sure that they are well informed. They are always making sure they are updated on things and working with the right people to get us what we need to make sure that we are successful and that we are safe. So thank you again, Chief, and thank you, of course, to our police chief, Chief Stanley, for helping with this, coordinating and making sure that we are working together well to be able to bring the series to you. The last one is going to be next Thursday. And again, you will get the information via email or via text, however you have received it to be able to be here tonight. So thank you. We just want to mention too that on Saturday, right, Mr. City Manager, as he looks at his phone, yes, he's texting the chief. Oh.
So again, that just speaks to us being prepared to clear the streets, and thank you, Contria. But we do have agreements with debris removal companies that will work with us. So as Public Works goes through, as you start to clean your yards, then they will actually come around and remove the debris. So we have companies that we currently have contracts with so that they can start immediately following the disaster. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Another community cleanup day. The first one was super successful. Who was there? Raise your hand. Over 400 people came out to help to clean up the city of Lauderhill. Residents, community partners. It was fantastic, and we really had a good time. And now what we have done is we've divided the city up. So we're going to be focusing now on the central, is it the central or the east side? The east side of Lauderhill on Saturday, right? And where is our location, city manager, that we're going to meet in? The Performing Arts Center, as we call the LPAC. We'll be meeting there early in the morning. We'll be getting there about 6:30. We start out at 7 a.m. and we're going to get our t-shirts and all of the supplies that we need, our equipment, to be able to go into the neighborhoods and help to clean up the city. I know you've been seeing a lot of changes in the city of Lauderhill, yes? You've been seeing persons that are on the street, staff early in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, in the parks. Yes, we are on top of the parks, all 26 of them. And thank God as well, you guys were so gracious and understanding and thoughtful to ensure that we have passed with this GEO bond, $65 million to be able to help to move the city forward with our capital projects. So we're doing a lot in the city of Lauderhill. Encourage you to stay engaged, be excited about what this new leadership is doing, and we thank you for your partnership as well, because it's very, very important. We can't do it by ourselves, so we appreciate your help with that. But to be reminded, Saturday at 6:30 a.m., it's not too early. You guys are up at 5 doing your 5K around the city. Yeah, that's how you're able to see the works people are out there cleaning up. But at the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center, and we'll all be there. The leadership, people take on the personality of their leaders when they see that we're out there even that early, and we are also cleaning up, not just driving around, but we're actually underground helping to keep our city clean. I believe that the residents will believe and trust us in knowing that the city is in good hands, and they will also do that. So please, I encourage you guys to come out, even if it's for half an hour or so. The sun won't be out at that time. And by the time the sun is out, we'll be over and done with, okay? So thank you again for being here. Stay informed. Please come to our city meetings as well. And you know we're all accessible. So reach out to us if you need us. Thank you and have a wonderful night.